Hello and welcome to this edition of Trojan Vision One-on-One. I'm your host, Stephanie East, where we get to know people around campus who make Troy such a special place. And joining us today is Dr. Chris Shaffer, the Dean of Library Services here at Troy University, from upstairs on the third floor here at Wallace Hall. Thanks for coming down and joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk to you about so many things, especially your book, but we're going to get to that in a little bit. But first of all, just tell us about your background, where you're from, where you went to college, and just a little bit about your history.
I'm from Birmingham, Alabama. My father had a bookstore called Smith and Hardwick that was downtown and had been there since the 1930s. He was the third and final owner. We moved, my mother, sister and I moved to Augusta when I was 10 years old, so I don't like golf, but I do watch the Masters. College is harder because there's so much, but I went to Auburn for my master's, Auburn for my bachelor's, Augusta University for master's #1, Albany State for EDS, Alabama for master's in library science, and Alabama State for doctorate.
So it seems like you were obviously a good fit for academia since you loved school.
Well, you know what's so funny is everyone says, "Oh God, you love school." You must say, "I don't like school. I really can't stand it." However, it will get you where you want to go, and I've really never had an urge to have calluses.
And love learning, though. It is so exciting to see the world that's out there. But I love that your father owned a bookstore, so you have had a love of books your whole life, grew up around them.
No, I went to a Catholic school for elementary school called St. Paul's downtown, and so he would drive me and drop me off. And at the age of 7, I would walk the 3 blocks from the school to the bookstore, which really sounds insane to have a little kid, walking through downtown Birmingham. But I actually knew a lot of the homeless people.
Oh, wow.
and they were quite protective of me.
Oh, I can imagine. Yeah, that's so interesting to hear about that. So tell us a little bit about, after you left college, what brought you to Troy University?
I taught middle school and high school for 8 years, and I just didn't think I could do it for 22 more, because retirement was 30 in Georgia. But I ended up, I made a tragic mistake, and I broke up a fight between 2 freshman girls. And you should let girls fight to the death. Just the way it is.
Take that advice, yeah.
But I had a coach helping me. So I had mine, and he had another one, but he had just had surgery on his hand. And she wrestled with him and split all of his stitches, and he let go. And she jumped on my back, and she was trying to bite the other girl, but she was biting me. And I just got to thinking about it and decided I could come up with a more inspired destiny for myself. And so I went home to Augusta and went by the university and talked to the people in the Career Center. And all 3 of them came out and talked to me. It was a slow day. And they all said librarianship. But they were like, they'll value your education, and it'll just take 1 year to get the degree if you go full time. And then I had 5 interviews set up when I was about to graduate, and ended up at Troy.
Fantastic. And so you started off, though, at Troy Dothan, right? And then came over to Troy?
No, I was here for a year.
Gotcha.
And it was just a pleasant coincidence. They had an opening for their director's position. And I always say I pulled a Dick Cheney because I was put on the committee to find the replacement, and I found me.
Well, I think that's a great replacement. And the library here at Troy is such a great place because you have so many exhibits that come in. Over the years, you've had, a ton of exhibits, the World War II postcards, the Magna Carta. Tell us a little bit about some of this stuff that has been in the library.
Well, now the postcard exhibits we actually created. And so that's been spearheaded by Ruth Elder in cataloging, and then Kelly Reeves, who's head of ILL, took it up and did one, if not two. But there are 4 exhibits. The postcards were donated by Wade Hall. And that was, I don't know, probably 17, 18 years ago. And we just hadn't really done anything with them. And so when I became dean, we got everything organized and properly housed, and then we could actually start figuring out what to do. Well, I'd been to Kansas City. I used to read AP exams for European history, but they would do that every summer for 8 days. And I went by their library, which is just great. It's in a like early 1900s bank. And it's a neat place, but they had a display of postcards from their collection. Well, I also have been getting these traveling exhibits from Kennesaw State about different things, usually African American or Holocaust topics. And I was like, what if we marry these two concepts? And so we did that, made it a traveling exhibit, and they've gone all over the state.
Yeah, it's really fascinating to see. I know I enjoyed walking through and reading all of that. And tell us about some of the other ones that have been in the library recently.
Dear Lord, we've had so many things. If American Library Association puts it out there, we tend to do it. We've had a history of the American Songbook. That was in Dothan, and it was about all the songwriters who made all the what we'd call standards, basically. And we recently had a Holocaust exhibit. We've had several Holocaust African American exhibits come from Kennesaw. So, and then we have lots of speakers, and quite often it's just people I know. But I took, when I was at Augusta getting my master's, it was in social studies ed, and like 40 hours were history, poli-sci, and 25 were education. And so one of the things I did there was I took 2 African American history classes, and it was just eye-opening because you're studying history just through a different lens, and it really helps you understand better. And the person teaching it, who unfortunately died recently, Cowboy Mike Searles, he was an expert on black cowboys in the American West. I didn't even know there was such a thing. And so I had him down here a couple of times. We've had a lady named Ann Rosenheck, who was a Holocaust survivor, who has come multiple times. And it was because of her that I started learning about writing grants, because I wrote a grant to the Alabama Humanities Foundation, now Alliance at the time, and took her that first time to 5 different locations, 3 of our campuses and 2 other schools. And over 1,500 people saw her. They gave us $1,797. I thought that was, it's almost $1 a person. That's pretty good.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's one thing about the library here at Troy. It's not just books. There's so much more to learn and so much more to see. Now, one thing about that is you actually won an Intellectual Freedom Award from the Alabama Library Association because of your efforts to bring so much diverse learning to the library here at Troy. So what does it mean to you to have that recognized?
Oh, particularly these days, I really appreciate it. I'm glad that I'm nearing the end of my career and I'm not doing some of the things that I was doing 10 years ago. People might throw rocks. But we did a grant with the NEH several years ago now. It was called Let's Talk About It, Muslim Journeys. And there was some backlash, but not a whole lot. And really all it was trying to point out the commonalities between the major religions. And we read 5 books as a community, And I had an imam, this sounds like a joke, an imam, a rabbi, and a preacher. Walk into a bar, but they would guide the group, and we gave the books away, and we had about 38 for each meeting. But it was great. We worked with Temple Emmanuel in Dothan, the Muslim community in Dothan, and Evergreen Presbyterian.
That sounds, wish I could have been a part of that. That was amazing. But it's so awesome that you think about bringing that diversity here to the university library. And speaking of awards, you were only one of 10 in the nation to receive the I Love My Librarian Award too. What did that mean to you?
That was big. That's ALA, New York Times, the New York Public Library, and the Carnegie Corporation that give that. And I think it's 10 people a year are selected. I think 4 from Alabama have won. Maybe there's been another since. And there's a cash award. It was $5,000, and they fly you to New York, and they, fet you on the 33rd floor, or whatever it is, of the building. And so that was really great, and good to be recognized for that.
And I want to talk about your book in just a second, but one thing that you are also a big advocate of here at Troy is celebrating all of the people at Troy who are
Yes.
authors. And so tell us why that is important to you.
Well, and part of it is just, even if it's not an academic book, writing book, you discover how hard that is. And writing a dissertation, as you know, you discover
Yes.
how hard that is. And so what I was doing was trying to come up with a way to celebrate our faculty members who have written a book, impart some knowledge, and also do it in sort of a fun way. And one of my favorite movies is Wonder Boys with Michael Douglas. And he is at a liberal arts college, a little bit too much so probably, and they would have a week celebration called Word Fest, and they would celebrate all of their authors, whether it was faculty or student. And when students had gotten a publishing contract, they were mentioned at this thing. And so that was where I got the idea.
Well, speaking of authors, we have to talk about your book, which has been really successful, and I can't wait to hear all about it. Moon over Salsava. Moon over Salsava. And I even practiced before we started the show. But it is a really fascinating account of teaching English in Slovakia. But you had been to Czechoslovakia before that, which led to the basis of this book. So start off with that very first trip when you were an Auburn University student.
I did. I had the option of staying in Auburn for the summer, where it's 1,000 degrees conservatively, or I had like 8 hours, I think, to finish the degree, quarter hours. And so I could also, though, go to our abroad program in Germany and finish my minor in German. And of course, 2 months in Germany, that sounded kind of fun. And it was just crazy. I think it was like $700 difference in price. So times have changed. And on a weekend trip, I went to Prague, and I was walking past, I think it was a telephone pole, and it was like, you want to come here and teach, tear off a phone number, call us when you get home. And I mean, the city is just magical. I mean, I've got a friend who calls it, Gotham City on steroids. And they were not bombed during World War II because they were quickly taken over. We can talk about the Munich conference later. And anyway, all that architecture has survived from 1,000 years ago or whatever. So no bombing in World War I or World War II, so it's just magical. And so I was like, yeah, I want to come here and teach. And in the time it took to get certified to teach and get approved to go, the group was Education for Democracy, based out of University of South Alabama, interestingly enough, which I did not know when I tore the sign off. They had the Velvet Divorce. The first one was Velvet Revolution when they got rid of the commies, and then the Velvet Divorce separated the two countries, and all of that means it was peaceful. So EFD decided to focus on the Slovak side. So I try not to say too loudly to Slovaks. Yeah, I was really trying to get back to Prague, but I got sent to Banska Bystrica. Sasova is a suburb where I lived, and just a beautiful medieval city. It was a mining town in the 1300s, 1400s. Wow. And so you still got all the great architecture, a beautiful square, and a great experience.
And so tell us a little bit about that experience. What was it like to be, a young adult in Slovakia and doing this and teaching English?
Well, it was different. When I went and met the director of the school, and he was sort of this Russian bear of a guy. I mean, he looked the part. He looked like a communist leader, and sort of in the Yeltsin school of people. But he looked at me and he said, "Vodka, cognac," and I had a translator with me, and I was like, "Why is he saying that?" And it was 7 or 8 a.m. and she said, "Well, he's asking what you want to drink." And before I could even say, "I don't really want anything," he poured shots of both.
Wow.
And so 7 a.m., we're doing shots on the job. And so anyway, I got the job. They had, it was a cash-only economy. They had no concept of a credit economy, and you got paid in cash every 2 weeks. And I made $100 a month.
Wow.
And they furnished the apartment and utilities and whatever, but it was really kind of interesting to discover what it's like having a state-controlled economy, because you could live on $100 a month. Mm-hmm. Now, you couldn't go anywhere. You leave the country, things cost real prices again, and you've got Slovak crowns, which won't do you much good. But so that was pretty interesting. It was cold. I was there from January to June, and when we were driving from Bratislava to Banska Bystrica, there was just this weird formation on the side of the road, and I couldn't figure out what it was. And I asked, and the person said, "Is river Hron?" And it was a river, and it was frozen. Wow. And so I was looking at these ripples that were just frozen, and we don't do that down here. I mean,
no, not at all. Well, what did your family think when you said, "I'm going to go to Slovakia and teach English"? What was their reaction?
They were supportive. The one who was fun was my grandmother, because she really played it cool. She was all for it, and then she realized it was going to happen, and she tried everything. She offered to buy me out for the plane ticket and give me double, give me another, 1,000, whatever it was. And her Hail Mary pass was, she said, "Do you realize that everything's cobblestones over there? Do you realize what that'll do to your feet?"
The things grandmas think of. So when did you say, "I'm going to write a book about my experience"? Had you been thinking about it for years, or what made you sit down and do it?
About 30 years. Mm-hmm. But the last night I was there, we had a party, because they were happy to see me go. And everything was coal powered. And so the whole winter, when you were coming home, and of course it was exactly what you may have read about. I mean, it was these blocks of gray flats. And I likened it to A Wrinkle in Time. There's a scene where all of the kids come out at the same time, bounce a ball 3 times and go back in. But there was a little playground between each one. But you'd be coming home on the bus, and everybody was getting home, turning on their heat. And so it's already cloudy, and now it's just all this smoke coming up, and wasn't a great look. Well, I went home in June, so no more of the coal, and it was a beautiful moon out, and I was talking to a friend, and I said, "There's a moon over Sasova." And I said, if I ever write the book, that's what the name will be. But it was such an ironic title.
It's perfect. And tell us about the cover here.
That's courtesy of Ed Noriega. But he came up with the concept because I talk a good bit about these grandmotherly figures who were sort of enforcers over there. But if you go to the post office, there's always one. A babushka is what I call them. And in the movie theaters, if woe unto the person who puts his shoe on the back of a chair, because there are two of these elderly people policing. So that's that part of it. The castle is actually in a town named Trenčín, which is my American pronunciation. But the Slovaks get annoyed with me because they're like, why isn't Banska Bystrica on the title? Don't you know where you are? Well, it's just, back then we didn't see our pictures when we took them.
Very true.
And so, I had the pictures I had, got them developed when I got back. And none of the ones of Banska were suitable for the book cover. And the one of Trenčín is just very good. I'm quite proud of that. So that's how it got on there.
And well, take us through your process. Like, what did it take for you to sit down and put the words to paper?
You probably learned it during your dissertation. You just have to say, for whatever amount of time you want to do, it doesn't really matter. I said I wanted to do 2 hours a day, and I would come in at 7 o'clock and try to work until 9. That didn't always work out, but it was, just coincidentally a slow semester, as it turned out. And you just do it one chunk at a time. I did an outline of just all the various adventures. And so I'd be like, okay, I'm going to write about this today. And I wanted 5,000 words a week. And I owed myself weekend time if I didn't get it done during the week. And the bulk of the book was done in 10 weeks.
Oh, wow.
And then editing and finding a publisher took longer. and that, and then low-level marketing, Facebook pages and things like that. And I find all of that incredibly draining.
Well, you've done a great job, obviously, because you won an award from, let's see, I found it, the Southeast Library Association, Outstanding Southeastern Author.
That was a big surprise. And like Pat Conroy's on that list.
Yeah.
Greg Isles is on that list.
Some big names, and Chris Shaffer.
And so, I'm not sure what they were drinking, but I certainly was grateful. And they had the conference that year in Meridian, Mississippi, and we've got a family connection there. And so it was great to get back to Meridian, and really, really enjoyed it. I actually, I've been very fortunate, as you can see. I had this poor kid come up one time, and he was doing a project for journalism. And he was like, I see you've won a lot of awards, and I just wanted to interview you about the awards. And there was no focus at all, but it was like he wanted me to get down on the floor with a bunch of ones if I was a millionaire and roll around in it. And,
it'd be nice, right?
I've always wondered what he got on that project, because it was not looking good for my end.
It wasn't my class, so I'm not sure. But that had to be so amazing to get that call and say, wow, my hard work, this, to get recognized for it.
Well, and what was really neat was the person who nominated me used to work at our library here. And she left about my second or third year at Troy. But she was the one who nominated me. And then, it really meant a lot, because I knew a lot of people with the association, so I appreciated it.
And what is it? I mean, tell me how it felt to sit down and go through those memories. To think about what it was like, and now you look back as an older adult. What was it like to think about those memories again?
It was. I hate people who say it was surreal, but it was kind of surreal, and I would have all these deja vu moments, like I'm actually experiencing it again right now. And so the mind is interesting, how it can conjure all this stuff up. And it was a lot of fun to write about, and just brought back so many good memories.
Yeah. And now if anybody wanted to buy the book, what do they need to do?
They can just go to Amazon.com and type in my name or type in Moonover Sasava, or both, and you'll find it.
And also here at the library, so if we switch to from your book to the library upstairs, tell me a little bit about what you see as the future for the Troy library system. What would you like to see for our students in the university?
The first thing I'd like to see, and we're going to see it, is an improved building. But it's been bad for too long. And we're in the process, as you know, of getting a new HVAC system. It's going to have 6 boilers. So if a boiler goes down, you're not going to get an email because we've got redundancy upon redundancy.
Great news.
And so no more of that stuff. We have new LED lights. And so for the first time since I've been at Troy, the lights are up to code for an academic library. All of this is being done a little bit out of order, but as of this morning, I got a text from Robert Berkey in Physical Plant saying that we are fully approved for a roof, the contract is done, and the state is coming out to do a preliminary report, and by the end of summer, we're going to have a new roof.
Fantastic.
So we are, maybe that sounds basic, but the main thing I want right now is the students to have a comfortable place like they should have to study and learn in. And we're about to have that again for the first time in a couple of years.
And for students who might be a little overwhelmed or intimidated to go to the library, because I've heard that, some students are like, I don't know where to go or what to do.
It's a thing.
Yeah.
It really is.
What do you say to ease some students' fears?
Well, the first thing I do is I say it to the librarians. I'm like, you've got to be looking forward. You need to have, even if you don't feel it, a good look on, a pleasant look on your face. And if you're a student, you just need to realize it's fine to come up and ask a question. And I think our students are pretty good about that. And according to the surveys anyway, they seem to feel like, we have a good rapport with them. So, beyond that, I hope we can start having some exhibits. Again, you mentioned Remnant Trust earlier, and I forgot to get back to that. I called them just recently, and they have increased their price by $10,000.
Oh,
so I don't know if they'll be back. But those were really great experiences for the students because we did have that Magna Carta. We had one of the original Declaration of Independence copies. So stuff like that I would like to continue doing.
And if anybody in the community wanted to come and see, you don't have to be a Troy University student to walk in and see those exhibits, right?
No, just come right on in.
And one last thing I did want to point out, because we were talking about this before the show, a cool thing that the university is doing is now you're a part of Libby.
Yes, but we've got several things that I think the community will like, the academic community will like. They're not necessarily academic. So yeah, you can get just whatever fiction you want through Libby. We've got the New York Times, and you can subscribe to that for free, and you can read articles or play Wordle, or we even get the cooking app.
Yeah, I play Wordle every day. So yeah, I was so excited when I saw that the library was on Libby. I went right to my Libby account and added it on there. So Chris, thank you so much for being with us today and talking about the library and Moon Over Sassava that you can get on Amazon. And we are so grateful that you would open up and tell us about your experience and your time here at Troy.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks so much. And that's it for Trojan Vision One-on-One. We'll see you next time.